GFX. Good morning. It's a Friday, and it's time for people in the neighborhood. We are double booked for today, ladies and gentlemen, and we're sponsored today by Lee Real Estate and also by Vilas Pharmacy. Good morning. Time of year. It seemed just the other day we were talking about ice safety, but now here we are talking about wildfires.
Yeah, it is, and this month happens to be the whole entire month of May is Wildfire Awareness Month, where we get out and we try to push some of the safety aspects of dealing with wildfires and what to do and maybe what not to do in some aspects. And it's a national campaign. It's really pushed hard by the state of South Dakota with the Department of Agriculture, with the folks that deal with wildfires all the time, and so they give us some information and things, and we run with it from there.
What are some of the steps that we can take to help during this month? What are the things that we're asked to do?
Well, just awareness is the big thing. Be careful, especially when you're doing any type of hot work outside. It doesn't take much to get a fire started. We have some areas that are more prone to maybe heavier fires with the fuel loads, with the vegetation. And so just being cautious. A lot of people don't may not realize it just takes that one spark with the right conditions. When we are in a high fire danger or higher red flag warning or whatever the case, it just takes the one spark to get something going. And with the right wind conditions, I mean, that fire can push extremely fast. I mean, faster than you'll be able to outrun it. And you can have what's dangerous is you could have 3 foot tall grass, but you can get 20-foot flame lengths off that grass as it's running and moving. So it's extremely dangerous.
Let's talk for a moment about the ATVs and the four-wheelers and different things like that. There's a lot of folks early this time of year, they go out, they do some shed hunting. Maybe they're out doing some scouting for a turkey season, that sort of thing. Those mufflers, they can cause problems out in the
Yeah, they certainly can, and they have. And when we are in those right conditions for fires, if the fuels are dry, the grasses, and everything else, you really want to stay on a designated trail and try to avoid that. If you're going to be doing any type of off-road, and if you have to, we always recommend taking some water with you. Or extinguishers are not a bad idea, but they're very difficult. If you get a grass fire, it just doesn't have the cooling effect that water does.
Okay.
So if you have a process to carry water, a bucket of water or something, because if you can hit it when it first starts, you're going to knock it down. But once it starts growing, it's going to grow and it's going to be out of control before you have a chance to get after it.
Chief, let's talk about the conditions right now. Where are we at on the fire index? What people are wondering, did we get enough snow? Did we get enough moisture? Are we looking at a drought type of a situation? What's the season looking
Well,
like?
it really fluctuates because it's a lot of it's based on humidity and everything. But right now we have a lack of moisture. We had the recent snowfalls and maybe a little bit of rain. We were actually earlier this week or last week it was last week we were put into a burn ban. We have a process in place with the county where the burn ban is automatically implemented when conditions get just right. And so we were actually already this year in a burn ban because the fire danger was at a certain level.
Okay.
But right now with the fuels and the moisture, you still got to be cautious.
Sure.
So if you're doing any type of controlled burning, which you need to call into this city dispatch to get authorization, but any type of controlled burning or anything, you want to be extremely careful and do some weather watching.
Now, is this just for the folks in town, or is this folks out on the farms, rural ranches, that sort of
This
thing?
is, I can speak, my jurisdiction lies within the city limits when it
Sure.
comes to fire, and the fire chief with the rural fire department would tell you the same information. And the things that we like to stress, especially in the city of Pierre, we have a lot of homes that we would consider urban interface, which
Okay.
means they are right next to some heavy fuel loads and topography, such as tall grass and hills. If a fire does start and races up those hills, you'll want they can affect your home. Like I said, you can have 3 foot tall grass or 2 foot grass, and you can have 20-foot flame lengths coming from that grass. So if your home's not protected properly and you're in close proximity to that stuff, you could have a potential home fire as well if something got started. So what I always say is, if you want us to come evaluate your property, if you're close to an area that might be prone to wildfire, that might impinge on your home, we can certainly come in and take a look at that. And they do a lot of that out in the hills, obviously, out in the Black Hills, because of their the vegetation, the trees, the hills, and everything else. They do a lot of that proactive stuff out there, but we're not immune to it here, so it can happen.
I know there's other organizations and groups out there that they do a number of controlled burns this time of year. Game and Fish and Parks, they've got some things planned going on this weekend coming up as well. I would imagine you get a lot of calls because not everybody can get the word that it's going to be a controlled burn, that sort of thing. How do you deal with those? I guess we could call them false alarms, right?
Yeah. What they are is, you get some concerned citizens, and like yesterday, we had a large the Fort Pierre wild or Forest Service did a controlled burn out on the grasslands, and you could see the plume of smoke from the city here. And basically, when dispatch is notified of whoever's doing the controlled burn, so they can, when the caller comes in, depending on the location of where they're seeing the plume, they can a lot of times determine if it's a controlled burn or not, if it's part of that.
Talking to the fire chief, I and Paul talking about the Wildfire Awareness Month, and it's all about the education and spreading the word, isn't it?
It is, and another key important part to this for those families that have young children at home. We've seen a lot of kids start fires in the town, in different areas in the city, in grass fires.
Sure.
And so taking the time to educate them and letting them know the dangers that you get a fire started. It's gonna grow fast and hard, and you might not be able to get away from it. So if the parents can take the time just to always, take a couple minutes to educate the kids as well.
Heck yeah. And when that happens, when folks see a fire, something happens, maybe something gets out of control in their house or yard or anything like that, to not even think about it, 911, right?
Yeah, 911, get us coming. Even if you think you can handle it, at least get us coming so we can always be turned around and come over and take a look to make sure there's no extension or leftover embers. But yeah, we're not gonna create any problems. Just give us a call. We'll come take a look to see how things are going and make sure everybody is safe. But get us coming right away.
How's the numbers in the fire department? They still looking for volunteers? And if so, how do folks listening become a volunteer?
We have a strong volunteer organization. We're very blessed in this community. We have a great group of firefighters, men and women, and but we're always looking. We're probably around the 57 members of volunteers right now with the Pierre Fire Department. But we're always looking for good quality volunteers. So it's a pretty simple process. If it's something that you're interested in becoming a volunteer, what you want to do is just apply to the fire department, a simple application. Give us a call down at the fire station at 773-7401. We'll get the application. We'll do a short interview, visit with you, make sure you're going to be a good fit for us, but at the same time, make sure we're going to be a good fit for you. And then we'll take move forward with some other processes that have to happen before we can get you on. And then we provide all the training in-house. We have certain requirements with state certifications and stuff, and we do all that in-house.
And before you know it, you're the new person.
Then you're the new person.
Sure. Sounds great. There you go, folks. It's all about keeping your eyes out and being safe and being careful and calling up before you have any fires, anything like that. It's that time of year, that's for sure. Any plans on when things get scorching hot this summer, opening up some hydrants for the kids? Anything like that going to happen, Chief?
I think the mayor's coming on next, so I'm going to have to say no hydrants open for the kids.
You took all of his time today. He's on here every Friday.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get into our next one. We've got the Joan Lickness coming in. Pierre concert series, and maybe she gives discounts to firefighters. Who knows?
Right.
Hey, thanks for your great work, all of your volunteerism, all your hours, and everything else. It's the chief, folks. It's the guy that gets it done. Thanks. Have a great